I'm Ian Clark, and this is my interactive advanced concept presentation 5 for chemistry, the penny oxidization experiment. So for this experiment, I have an empty non-metallic bowl here. This bowl is just filled with tap water. I have some white distilled vinegar and some table salt. So for this solution, for this experiment, we're going to start by taking about a quarter cup of white vinegar. We're going to put it into this plastic bowl, and then we're going to take a teaspoon of regular table salt, put it into the bowl. We're going to stir this mixture up, this to spread the salt out within the vinegar. So now I have a small handful of pennies of various discoloration, dirty, new, and old. So we're going to put these into the solution. I'm going to move them around a little bit so try to get as much surface area with the solution as possible. So in this experiment, we're going to leave them in here for about 30 seconds. And what's going on is the pennies are covered in copper oxide and from the copper atoms interacting with the air over time. And what should happen is the copper oxide dissolves in a mixture of the weak acid and the vinegar, acetic acid, and the table salt, sodium chloride. And this forms the ion blue copper 2, which is it's soluble in water. So we'll rinse a few of these to see if it cleans them off. And then the other ones will air dry here on this towel. And what we should see happen is the ones that air dry should form a bluish green coating on them, while the ones that we rinse should come out looking new or very shiny. So what's going on in here is the chlorides and the salt, they're penetrating the oxide layer that allows the acetate to react with the copper. So it's essentially cleaning them, but not really cleaning them. It's just removing that copper oxide layer. So we'll leave them in there a few more minutes, and then once we get them out, we will cover the differences and what's going on in this experiment. As you can see, they're all spread out in there. So they've been in there about 30 seconds now, so I'm going to remove them from the mixture. I'm going to do about half into the water to rinse, and we'll drain off the vinegar, but the water stops the reaction, and so when it stops the reaction, it stops removing this copper oxide, this what they call malachite. This blue copper ion 2 is soluble in water, so it'll be completely removed from the pennies in the solution. We won't even be able to see it anymore. So that's why we're going to dry these few on the towel to see if they develop the blue-green coating from this reaction. So these over here just came directly out of the solution and will be air dried. And what should happen with these is the pennies turn blue due to the formation of malachite, which is the blue copper ion 2. This ion carries a double positive charge, and so copper has 2 valence electrons it can lose. And transition metals have no outer p shell, so electrons, meaning the d shell electrons, act as valence electrons. So when they're not rinsed, this is visible as the outer blue coating. And you can see these over here, we'll pull them out of the solution, or out of the water that were in the solution. I lay them out here. As you can see, these are much more shiny than they were as we put them in. Both of them are. These are the ones that were rinsed, in the water, so the reaction should have stopped immediately once we got them into the water for the rinse. These are the ones that were pulled directly from the solution and laid out here and still have some of the solution residue on them. So over time, these should turn and create a bluish green covering on them, but we haven't seen that begin yet. But what should happen is we see that copper to ion and the loss of the valence electrons is what creates that. So we see that blue-green coating, but unfortunately this experiment, that hasn't happened yet. So this concludes my experiment. As you can see, these all became much more clean than they looked prior to putting them in solution. And these unfortunately haven't shown the blue-green coating yet, but maybe they will after they sit for a little bit longer.